All right, today we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to talk about goals, and we're going to talk about business goals, but I think personal goals are very important as well. And then we're going to get into the worst and best sales of last week. So let's get right into the details. There's something going on that's really caused me to take a hard look at, and I say me, my wife and myself. We're a team forever. So at overall finances, but just a little bit of backstory. I haven't really gotten into this a whole lot. I'd always intended to do a kind of Brian story type thing and how my eBay journey or something like that, but I'm going to give you just kind of a brief overview of some of that. So I sold off and on eBay for the past 6 years, and I've sold the whole time. Just at different times I've been very, very engaged, and some other times I've been less engaged and just had 50 to 100 items up for sale, and I just, whenever a sale comes through, and sometimes one a month or two a month. So there have been those times. Last year, let's say mid-ish 2024, I started getting more actively engaged in eBay, and in September of 2024, I lost my job. So I did have a full-time job before this. This isn't what I've been doing for the past 6 years, only selling eBay. I had a 21-year career with the same company essentially, and many acquisitions went on during that time, but lost my job. I was by far and away the breadwinner for the family, and my wife and I sat down and looked at, I did look around for other jobs, and we decided that I would take some time and really try to build my eBay business and YouTube as part of my, future career. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and we're not like, millionaires or anything, but we were in a spot personally where we could take that time to do that. Now, I'm going to pause there in that part of the story to say, when we moved back here to Oklahoma in 2022, my wife's focus was around getting a job, and her primary desire, or she wanted to get a job at OU. She's at University of Oklahoma. Her mom and dad went there. She went there. She liked her experience, really wanted to get a job on campus, and huge benefit whenever you are a staff employee there. Your kids, as long as they get their first degree for free. And I say free, all the tuition is paid. You still have to pay the fees, which is, people go, oh, you might think it's a free ride. It's not a free ride. You still got to pay all the fees. So we're still going to have to come out of pocket maybe 10 grand a year or something for, college education, which in, today's terms isn't that bad. And we were certain that our kids were going to go to OU. And then, as my older son, his love of math started taking kind of a detour and towards the love of math, we figured out that was probably not going to be the school for him. They don't have all the things that he's interested in and that he's really applying himself towards, very advanced physics, and there's a bunch of stuff he wants to do. He's extremely, extremely ambitious, and so he did get accepted to OU. His grades are stellar. His academics are great. But he also got accepted to the Colorado School of Mines in Golden, Colorado, which is beautiful. It's an awesome campus. It's a very small school. But my wife doesn't work there, so there's no free tuition, and it's an expensive school. It's especially because he's paying out-of-state tuition. So they gave him a nice scholarship, which helped a little bit. But man, it helped a little bit. So yeah, so then we had to sit down and go, okay, what are we doing? 'Cause, we could easily pay out of pocket for OU, and at the time, and we sank at that time all of our money into our house. So we own our house. We paid for it whenever we bought it. That was a decision we made whenever that whole thing was happening. So we weren't going to carry any debt on the house, and it was going to be super easy to pay out of pocket for school, for OU. And then I lost my job, and then things changed, and we still thought, we can get by. We can still make that work. Until different college came up. So, in any case, that's not a sad story at all. For me, it's a challenge, and we sat down and tried to figure out, okay, what do I need to do with eBay, and goals, personal goals, business goals, is something that throughout my career we sat down and we had goal sessions prior to the next year. Usually we started talking about it in September. In November we started the actual hard planning process, and they never got published until January sometime, maybe. So that was other story. But so I've been planning business planning for 20 some years, either on the sales side, being out on the road, having a sales plan, working in the office, having a plan for vendors and new items and marketing budgets, and then managing a sales team. Had a much bigger goal to plan for. So I've been used to it, all my professional career essentially. And when I got started on eBay, I had kind of a verbal, my wife and I kind of talked a little bit, but I didn't have a written down goal. Didn't have this. And if I'm being completely honest, I'd say I was probably scared that if I wrote it down, I might fail. If it was just something that I had said and it wasn't published anywhere to go back and look at, there's all sorts of things that I could point at and go, oh, it's this over here. Oh, it's that. Oh, because I didn't list enough, and I think that's why. And I whenever I think about it, if I'm just super honest with myself and obviously whoever's on the other end of this screen, I think I was scared of failing, and yeah. But I don't have time for failing anymore, or being scared, or worrying about it. That is not in the plan. So I did come up with a goal, and I'm just going to read it to you. So this is something that is meant to be by the end of 2025. And that doesn't mean that I can procrastinate, and December 1st go, oh, I better work on that goal and have it ready to go by the end of the year. It's because I'm building it, right? I have to build my inventory with cash. My sales aren't going to jump from this to this overnight. So that's why it's by the end of the year. I want to be scaling to this. I want to scale to this point so that if I look at my sales and I realize October, November, December, Q4 is unusually high typically on volume. So I might look back 6 months and say, okay, I'm scaling to that point. I'm in a good spot, and figure out where my daily listing number is going to stay or kind of hover around, and that sort of thing. So my goal by the end of 2025 is to have 1,500 active listings. That's a number that hasn't really changed for me. I've had that number, my wife and I have talked about it. I have that number in my head for quite a while. I think 1,500 is a number that I can manage. We'll see when we get there, but I don't know if I'm going to need to hire somebody to help me with that or not. I know there are people who hire VAs, virtual assistants, to do all their listings. So they upload the pictures, and from there, VAs do the listings. Typically, it's offshore in India or somewhere, and then whenever they come back, because it's their daytime when it's our nighttime, and I'm not an expert on that. And so you wake up the next morning and you can review your listings and publish them. So I don't know if I'm going to get to that point. I never really wanted to, but we'll see. I don't know. It's not the future yet, so we'll see. So 1,500 active listings. I'm projecting that's going to be 79 items sold per week. And what I'm doing is I'm taking 0.75%, so 0.75% of my inventory. So I'm going to sell that per day. Right now I'm selling about 90% to 90% of an item to one item. So I'm selling almost my inventory every 90 days right now. So I'm selling about an item per day, 1% of my inventory per day. So 79 items per week. So to do that, to get there, I'm going to start. So I'm doing it today. I already got all my pictures done, but next week I'm going to dig in, and I'm going to start with 25 items per day, listing those until I hit that sales, until I'm hitting 79 sales per week, and then see what that looks like. How many items do I need to list per day to maintain that that sales number? And that's overshooting, because 79 sales per week, that's like 11 items a day. And so if you're listing 25 and selling 11, but what's going to happen is as you start listing more, your sales are going to go up, and I'm probably going to find it hard at some point to keep up with it, the growth. But I'm just going to have to. I know I was listening to, I think it's Carrie at Home, and who's a jeans and shirts tops seller, clothing seller, and she said her and her husband, and it's both of them doing it, were having the hardest time breaking through like 1,400 listings because they just couldn't keep up with their sales. Were going out as fast as they could list stuff. Good problem to have, but so we'll see what that shakes out to. So 79 sales per week, list 25 a day until I find the balance. Right now, my average sale price, now this is the item and the shipping, so together is $31.15. I want to bump that up to $35 per sale. That's my goal. So it's going to be higher value items, taking, not doing as many lower value items like I've done. Profit margin of 45%. Right now I hover close to that. It's not exact, but close. So if I do that, so I sell 79 items per week at $35 an item on average, not every item. Some item will be $200, some items might be $20. At a 45% margin, that's going to be top line sales of $143,700. So that's before. Then at the 45% profit margin, that's going to be $64,700 in pre-tax profit for the year. So $143,700 sounds like, oh my gosh, he made $144,000. No way. You got to take out all the costs and the fees and the shipping and all the stuff, and with the 45% profit margin, it gets you down to $64,700. So it comes out to a little over $32 an hour, and that's based on a 40-hour work week. There's a few things I'm working on my house that are taking a lot of time right now. It's going to take a lot of time for the next 60 days. If you're a reseller, especially if you're a full-time reseller, this is more than a 40-hour a week job. And I say job, I don't really think of it as a job because I love it. So it doesn't, I like looking at my stats. I'll do that, in the evening. I work on information for videos in the evening time, after dinner, and everyone's kind of watching their shows or whatever. But it's something I enjoy it. I like going and finding the items, I like listing items. I like every aspect of it, really. I even like the bargaining part whenever people send offers, because to me it's a game. Where can we meet in the middle to make sure both parties get what they're looking for? I get the profit I need, they get the price they want. So I like creating videos, editing videos, trying to figure out a way to make them better. That's something I'm working on now, is trying to, kind of upscale, my video quality. but yeah, it's so I like every aspect of it. So I don't really think of it as a job. But yeah, so those are my goals. So by the end of this year, I want to be tracking to make $65,000 a year before taxes. It's definitely it's a far cry from my professional career salary, far cry. But yeah, that's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, there's a bunch of people I worked with got affected, and the company ended up. It's been about 60 days now or so, 45 days. Actually, closed their doors, and 3 days after they closed their doors, a competitor came in, and they'd kind of been working behind the scenes. Came in and bought a bunch of the assets, kept a handful of the people, but most of the people. I mean, at one point we were like over 1,000 employees, and just nationwide, and it just all kind of fell apart. It's kind of sad. So, goals. If you're reselling and you don't have a goal, I would highly encourage you to have one. If you don't have something to aim for, you can't hit it. So it's like closing your eyes and shooting an arrow somewhere and then wondering why you didn't hit the target or hit the bullseye. So you got to have a target that you're aiming for. And I think that matters even if you only want to make $5,000 a year. I think that's fine. But have a goal to make $5,000 a year and make sure you're doing the things to get there, and not just kind of wandering through, reselling. Now you may like that. You may not care if you make $100 or $100,000, and you're just going to pick up a few items here and there and list them and sell them whenever they sell, and who cares? And if that's your goal and that's what you want to do, then do what works for you. You don't have to do what works for me. Do what works for you. But I think goals definitely work. As something that came to mind, and I wasn't sure if somebody actually said it. It was a quote. But Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, I don't know if that's how you say that, said, "A goal without a plan is just a wish," which makes a lot of sense for sure. All right. Enough pep talks and philosophy for today, but we're going to talk about what sold this past week. Sales were down a little bit. Not concerned about that. I listed a good number of items, mostly in the clothing category, and clothing is slower selling typically for me in my past history. Now some of the other items I pick up at like garage sales and estate sales and stuff like that. So, which I did go to some garage sales and estate sales last week. So let's take a look at total sales for last week. So last week we sold 21 items for a total of $710.15. That is inclusive of item and shipping revenue. My pre-tax profit was $236.85, or 33% profit margin. It definitely took a dip this week. I sold a lot of items on offers, lower profit margin items, had some negatives in there as well, which we'll see in the worst sales. But yeah, really drug down the profit margin this week. Did make $9.81 on shipping this week, which helps offset the fees that get charged on the shipping and the boxes and all that kind of stuff. But number one profit source for sales this week was thrift stores, with 12 items of the 21 coming from thrift stores, or 57% of the items. 15 or 71% of the items sold were sold on a promoted listing. So there was 2, 3, 5%, depending on what it was, as a promoted listing fee attached to it. 15 items, or 71%, same number, were sold on either the store sale over the weekend or an offer. And 10 items were double dips, were sold on a promoted listing and on an offer or a sale, so which I have built in. So let's look at the worst 5 items that sold last week. So the worst 5 items, the fifth worst is this Pink Floyd The Wall DVD. I got it for free at a garage sale. I sold it for $7.71 on sale this past weekend for a $4.86 pre-tax profit or a 39% profit margin. A bunch of the stuff that I got for free, I did a couple movie bundles which haven't sold, and then I sold a few things, or a bunch of stuff I just donated. A lot of it wasn't worth selling, even though it was some pretty cool stuff. It just doesn't have value on the secondhand market. So, yeah. But then I've got some stuff that does have some value, and I've got it for sale. Next up is this 5/8 quart Farberware saucepan. I thought about keeping this one. I say that a lot, but for making like melting butter and like making sauces and stuff at home, I'm not an awesome cook, but I do enjoy cooking. But I paid $3.20 for this at Goodwill, just down the street, and I sold it for $11.49 plus shipping on an offer. I made $4.81 pre-tax profit for a 25% profit margin. Next. The next three worst sales were all hats. I bought them all at Ross, which is kind of a continuing saga of my big Ross plan of buying things, getting into retail arbitrage, and this was last August, so this stuff is still kind of haunting me. It will continue for a while. I still have more of these hats up here, but not a lot more, but I still have some. So third worst sale of the week is this North Face boonie cap. So I bought this at Ross, paid $13.30 for it. I sold it for $19.41 on an offer for a $2.74 profit margin, or pre-tax profit, or 11% profit margin. I shouldn't have bought the hat. It was a unique color. There wasn't any other ones listed, but the sell-through rate on small medium hats versus like a large extra large, because it's not a one-size-fits-all, it's not great. So you really need the larger sized hats if it's a size like that and not like a fitted size or a one-size-fits-all. But it went out the door. So let's see, second worst sale of the week was this Neff Mickey Mouse bucket cap, Disney bucket cap. So this was a repeat buyer. They bought another one, paid a little bit more for this one than the last one. And then just today I sold another one, so whole separate buyer, but sold another one. But yeah, paid $14.20 for it, and I sold it for $12. Horrible. But I'm putting some money back in my pocket that I can go invest into inventory, which I need to. So I lost $4.53 for a negative 27% profit margin on that one. And then the worst sale of the week, the third hat, is this Chicago Bears hat. I paid $14.30 for this, sold it for $10, lost $7.66 for a negative 53% profit margin. That's just a killer, but I'm glad to have them gone and just out of the store. A little bit of money's coming back. Go spend it on stuff that I can much better buying decisions on that other stuff. That's for sure. All right, now let's look at the 5 best sales of the week. These are a little bit better. Coming in at the 5th best sale of the week is one of the clothing items I bought recently. So these Zegna pants, I paid $3.96 for these at local Goodwill, the closest one to me up here, and sold them for $21.16 on an offer. So made $15.52 for a 50% profit margin. I knew Zegna was a nice brand, but it's their wool clothing that does really, really well. These were just like chinos, like just relaxed cotton pants. The price points on those aren't nearly as high as other Zegna products. All right, 4th best sale of the week was this Revere Wear. This is a 1.5 quart. This is a disc bottom. This is a really nice saucepan. Got full price for that, $24.89 plus shipping, for a $17.42 pre-tax profit, or a 50% profit margin on that one also. Cookware keeps going, that's for sure. Third best sale of the week right here is this Redhead This is a gun case, soft. It's a soft gun case, very padded inside. Has like 3 compartments in it. Looks like it's for match shooting pistols, maybe. But picked that up at a garage sale for $5. Sold it for $33.91 plus shipping for a $20.11 pre-tax profit or a 43% profit margin. And on that one, you'll see on the shipping, it's a little bit wonky. The person was like, "Is this really costing us much to ship it?" And I was looking at the pricing and everything, and I offered them an $8 shipping credit because I thought, the size of box that I had measured for, I was like, I think I can get it in a smaller box, and I did. So ended up working out pretty good. They got a deal. I got it out really fast, and everyone was happy. Second best sale of the week was this 511 Tactical. This is a Moab 6 sling pack. I picked this up at my local Goodwill right up the street for $4.50. I sold it for $32 for a pre-tax profit of $21.25 or a 54% profit margin. Fun story. I already got a return request for it, and I was like, how in the world? And the guy said, I just don't like it. He's paying to ship it back. So if he doesn't like it, I guess that's, I'll get my fees back and stuff like that. But I just was like, I would think if you're buying something like that, you already know, you want the thing and you're just looking for a deal on eBay on a used one. Because brand new, he would have paid, I think, $65 or $70 for that. But I guess he didn't know if he wanted it or not. So he got it, and 2 days later, he goes, nah, I don't like it. So it's coming back. I'll sell it again for more than $32. And number 1, this one went really fast. So this is a Fine Multi-Master oscillating tool. Fine makes really good like woodworking products and power tools. It's Fine, F-E-I-N. But yeah, found this at a garage sale. So it was the same day I bought the Redhead case, different garage sales, but same day. Paid $20 for it, sold it for $89.89 plus shipping for a $52.90 pre-tax profit or a 48% profit margin. And that one I sold in 10 or 12 hours, sold it really fast. So I think I could have sold it for more. The other ones that were selling didn't have as many blades and attachments as this one did. This one had quite a few attachments. I probably could have gotten $99 for it. I don't know. But I sold it fast, made decent money. I'm happy. That's everything that sold this week. I'm going to be laser focused on my goals, getting inventory up, getting more stuff listed, sold, buying more to support all that. And we're just going to track the progress as we go along. If you have any comments or questions, leave those down below and I'll get right back to you. And until next time, have a great day.